Halliburton trained the industry. We were at the cutting edge of the horizontal frac revolution in 2012 when I started, and Halliburton taught us everything that we know. And that was a wild time coming out of
Wild. Yeah,
school
right.
because
Yeah.
mechanical engineering, I was just like, what am I going to do? I had no idea. Like, I want to say like 10 people I graduated with in mechanical engineering. We all went to the oil and gas business.
Oh,
It was
really?
boom time in
Yeah,
oil and
yeah,
gas.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and all the jobs were being offered as traditional mechanical engineering positions
Okay.
were like
Okay.
$40,000, $50,000 a year. I was just
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
is
That's
horrible
that's
pay.
yeah, right.
This I'm an engineer. We need to be
And
getting
I just
paid.
I'm glad to be here. This is going to be a fun podcast episode. I have Mitchell Gipson, and we were just talking beforehand about Mr. Gipson winning an award for the AADE. So I wanted to start with that. Tell me all about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I was in the middle of my research for my it's my master's degree in petroleum engineering at New Mexico Tech. Um, I had a background in completions. I did a lot of work with Halliburton in South Texas from 2012 to 2015. And Halliburton really trains the industry on technical information.
Okay.
They have that reputation across the industry. So I have a really strong background in completions, even though I almost knew nothing about the oil and gas industry before I graduated with my bachelor's of engineering.
Okay.
So fast forward to my master's and going into starting some research, I really didn't know what to do. I had this completions background and knew I wanted to do some technical work related to that.
Okay.
And I ended up getting an advisor that was like, hey, I have this friction reducer that we've been modeling from this chemical company out of the Permian Basin that is looking to try and optimize it inside of produced water for frac operations
Okay.
because, the Permian Basin struggles to get water to do these massive fracs
Yeah.
that they're
Okay.
doing.
Uh-huh.
And the best way that for every barrel of oil that you produce hundreds, sometimes thousands of barrels of water. Like, what do they do with it? Well, they got to get rid of
We
it.
got it right.
So, yeah, why not try and use this water for frac that uses thousands of barrels of water? So this friction reducer
So yeah,
is
that's what friction reducer. Why
right.
friction? Why are we reducing the friction in the water?
Well, so a friction reducer is a polyacrylamide.
Okay.
It's a polymer that typically starts off as a dry form. It's farmed from plants in other countries and exported to the U.S.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's a natural occurring polymer.
Okay.
And they refine it, and then they either hydrate it inside of water with some other additives. Back when I was in South Texas, it typically came in a 330 gallon tote.
Okay.
And it was injected into a blender and then into your frac water. So then what that does is that polymer expands once it starts getting into really turbulent water.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just reduces those turbulent eddies so that they don't slow down your flow of water.
Right.
So yeah, my goal was to optimize those inside of produced water. And back then, most folks weren't using produced water inside of their fracs. And when they did, their friction reduction fluids just weren't performing.
Right.
So
I have let me interrupt you. I have a question. So if we're reducing the friction, why is that helpful to the overall thing? Why can't we just shove turbulent water down there? Why do we need to reduce the friction of it?
So the goal is to crack open the rock inside the target formation, the pay zone that we've drilled our well to. And the best way to crack that rock efficiently is at really high rates.
Mm-hmm.
The industry's found that high rates of this fluid moving typically results in better contact with the reservoir.
Okay.
And then that allows for better production of oil and gas.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's typically the main ingredient. Water is the main ingredient for these fracks. The chemicals that are involved are like less than 1% of the overall total fluid.
Yeah.
And friction reducer it's not even close to, it's maybe thousands of gallons, maybe even, it's not even can be tens of thousands of gallons. I've been out of the completion game for a little bit, but and it changes
We
quickly
get
in
it,
this industry.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't quote me on any of those
All
volumes,
the numbers.
but
We're not. We get it. Yeah.
yeah. But so that essentially just allows, I mean, because if you didn't have this friction reducer inside your frac fluid, you could maybe get like 20 barrels a minute, 10 barrels a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to get these 100 barrels a minute. And it also helps carry your proppant. And proppant is essentially the key ingredient for a frac.
Okay.
The more it props open the cracks that you've created with water.
Right. And we're trying to get the biggest.
You want the biggest proppant that you can fit.
Okay.
But in some cases, and there's a whole bunch of gray area there because money is always involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. I understand.
The fancier the proppant that you start pumping, the more your frac costs. And so traditionally or lately, it's the last 4 or 5 years, it's been native sand is what everybody wants to do inside of their frac fluids. It's the cheapest they can find. They go out to Pecos and mine it out of the ground, or even here in Midland, I think we now have sand mines just about everywhere.
No kidding. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And then I have seen, I thought they're building a conveyor belt now to move the sand in here.
I think that's for the Delaware.
Oh, the Delaware. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there may be other projects even in the Midland Basin where, you have a sand mine. It's a couple of miles away. Let's see if we can just transport it via a belt or something.
So why do you like the native sand? Or do you not like the native sand? It's the popular choice right now.
It's inexpensive.
Okay.
Easy to source. And it gets the job done. I think that's the answer to the question.
Yeah.
It's good enough to get the production numbers that the companies are budgeting for.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Okay.
If you budget for higher proppant, maybe you get some better life out of your well, maybe some better performance. What's your goal as a company? Do you want to have quick production and sell? Do you want to hold on to your assets until the end of their life?
Right.
You know, what's
your goal?
What's your goal?
That's every business.
So
what's your goal there?
I think the Permian in general, for the vast majority of it, has decided that this is good enough. Native sand, easy to source. You don't have to rail it in. I know that's a popular way to move in proppant.
Right. Okay.
And then you can do carbon ceramic proppant. I mean, you can get super fancy with proppant.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've heard proppant, but I didn't know we were getting fancy with it.
Yeah. No, that comes from the vertical completion days.
Okay.
Because I mean, you just have a hole in the ground and you're doing maybe 7 stages total in your completion. And that's maybe you do 2 sets of perfs inside your vertical for one zone.
Right. Yeah.
And then you just keep going up and you're hitting other zones. And then you're completing, well, maybe you're not completing them all at the same time. You'll drill out one and just complete that one zone or produce that one zone.
Okay.
And then, so those are the olden days, but they'd do fancier proppants. They'd try and mitigate any of the skin damage that they could possibly do to the formation, which has kind of been thrown out with the horizontal shale revolution that we've been a part of for the last 10 years. Nobody really cares about reservoir damage because they're like, our fracs are just connecting up with so much reservoir and we're getting really good, numbers back on our production. So why are we worried about trying to do better? But
Oh yeah, yeah,
efficiency
yeah,
is
yeah,
king.
yeah. Right. That's a tough one.
That's the engineering
Uh-huh.
mindset. Well,
Yeah,
so there's
yeah. It's
there's
like
there's
our
oil
trades
to
were
be
really
got,
good.
right? So I think the industry is more and more going to look at how can we improve skin damage going forward? How can we improve proppant going
Right.
forward? And these assets are getting older. It's only a matter of time before we run out of acreage
Mhm.
that's premium acreage, or maybe you want to go back to that premium acreage, but try and squeeze all the goodie out of it. And how are you going to do that? You're
Yeah.
going to do higher quality fracks with maybe
Yeah.
fancier fluids, fancier proppants, try and get, that tighter oil that's hard to get
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but it's different though with shale. Those are traditional reservoirs are your carbonates, your, sands that have higher porosity and permeability. You can move oil through them much easier, and any bit of blockage that you cause ends up affecting your economics on those verticals.
Sure.
So
Uh-huh.
shale, it's just been like connect up to these lenses inside this shale that has your oil and your gas, and that's as good as we get. We don't want to pump this fancy frac fluid and prop it and then lose it to, a
Yeah,
portion of this
yeah.
reservoir
You just
that's
look. Yeah.
never even
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
produce, out of this section.
Yeah. That no. It
Maybe you
make
didn't hit a lens,
right.
of
No,
oil
that
or
totally makes sense.
gas.
Yeah.
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 So
The economics of it. Yeah. Like the risk versus reward. So it seems
yeah.
like there's like a good, bang for your buck way to do it right now.
So that's what
Sure.
the industry's kind of settled on the last
Sure.
5, 6 years is, hey, get as much rate as we possibly can. That gets your width of your fracture. It
Mm-hmm.
gets further out into the formation, get more connected up, put a good amount of proppant in there,
Yeah.
lots of proppant,
Yeah. Okay. Lots of profit. Okay.
lots of proppant.
Lots of it. All
Yeah.
right. I like that.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, I think
But not the fancy profit. Not the fancy. No,
no,
we're just gonna.
yeah, you're trying to create a pseudo reservoir
Okay.
inside your frac,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
By the way, we got way off topic here.
I know. We do that.
I want to go back
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
All right, so we were talking about how you won the competition for
Yeah.
friction reducing water.
Yeah. So
Let's go back to that.
okay. Yeah. So I was doing research with FR
Okay.
inside of produced water. We talked about, I don't know if we talked about produced water at all. Well, we did.
Yeah. Okay.
So it comes up with our oil and gas as we produce these wells.
Okay.
It's we're in the business of moving water, really,
Yeah.
more so
Sure.
than oil.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we get rid of that water? And using them on these fracks is a great way to do it. Um, so let's optimize friction reducers inside a produced water.
Yeah. And
What
so
are the
we're
properties?
trying to move more barrels per minute inside of a certain certain we only have a certain amount of internal diameter like to stuff it through, right?
Right.
And so we're trying to stuff as much as we can, and if we put this friction reducer in there, we can now move. I'm trying to talk in layman's terms here. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just trying to move more water through it, and you made a friction reducer.
So I didn't make the
Oh,
friction
you never made. I'm
reducer.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So the goal is produced water is got a lot of salt in it. Total dissolved solids, bunch of salts
Okay.
and other foreign
Yeah. Right.
material
Yeah.
that's
Foreign, but
not
yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
useful for
Mhm.
polyacrylamide to unwrap and give you that friction reduction inside of water. So, yeah, I was working through cationic, anionic, and non-ionic forms of friction reducer because there's different forms that can have a different charge on it.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then sometimes those charges can interact with produced water differently. So I had
What do you mean by that? They can interact with so there's different kinds of produced water?
different kinds of friction reducers that
Okay.
have different charges on them.
Okay.
Yeah, and they can just interact differently
Okay.
with different fluids depending on the solids that are dissolved inside of that fluid,
Okay.
or water. So my goal was here is a slew of friction reducers. I think I went over about 6, about 2 cationic, 2 anionic, and 2 non-ionic. And then I had a friction loop, and I tested all these friction reducers with fresh water, got a baseline, how they're performing,
Okay.
giving a pressure drop over a distance. And you can calculate how much pressure
Is it-
your you're getting out of your the friction reducing you're getting out of your chemical and your
Yeah, the side.
concentration and all that stuff and your rates. Then I build a fluid profile, and then I could match an equation to those fluid profiles and then scale it up to industry style fracs,
Okay.
moving that kind of fluid. So yeah, and then I started adding TDS to my fluids and then seeing how that would affect performance and then model all those out and just kind of see what those performances look like. And then uh, I finished my research, got it all wrote up, and then my professor's like, "Well, you need to have this published in
Yeah.
order to, graduate.
You-
This is kind of part of the degree requirements is having some publication of your work." So I had finished my thesis and research and uh, was starting to send it off to these different conferences. And
Mhm.
AADE came up with their fluids conference in Houston in 2018, and
Right.
uh, they were just like, "Yes, please submit your abstract, paper, poster, and we give a like $2,500 reward to the winner." I was like, "Oh, so they fly you out, come meet industry."
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an exhibition. There's a bunch of uh, exhibitors and
Yeah.
people from industry. They are giving out Hall of Fame awards. So there was people that had been in industry for their entire lives and got to meet with those folks
Yeah.
and really just kind of brush shoulders and kind of get to know more of the industry. But I'd already been a part of the industry for 3 years, so I was fairly familiar. But AADE is the American Association of Drilling Engineers. So there was quite a few more drilling folks than I'd ever really got to know or rub shoulders with. So I enter this contest, I present it, show off my poster board, and the review panel for that are blown away. Thought I did a really good job, and they award me the contest winner for that year.
No, okay. So did you win $2,500?
I did.
No kidding. All
Yeah. And
right.
as a student, that's
As a
huge.
student, dude, you're like, hey, dude, you're like ready.
Got me
Yes.
through the next semester. Or yeah, but I was so that was April or
Yeah.
May of 2018. I was graduating that year, so it was just like the cherry on top. And
Man, what a year, right?
yeah, it was kind of a breakout into the industry going
Yeah.
back in, with a bunch of drilling engineers and a society that I didn't really know much about.
Mhm.
So then come October of 2018, I get a job and it's in the Permian Basin.
Okay.
Awesome. Super stoked.
Where you from here?
No, I'm from outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, Sandia Park. I'm a
Okay.
New Mexico boy through and through.
Through New Mexico.
grew
Yeah,
up.
New Mexico. And then you went to
Yeah, and then I did all my education in New Mexico. Got my bachelor's at New Mexico State, mechanical engineer,
yeah.
and then got my master's at New Mexico Tech as
New
a
Mexico Tech.
petroleum engineer. Yeah.
And so yeah, do you think that the paper and the winning like got you the notoriety to like, hey, let's get into the Permian here, or did they know about it? Like, did they know about?
So I didn't think it would be something that most people would know about. It's maybe 800 people go to those
Yeah.
conferences.
Yeah.
So it's still a little bit of a niche area
Niche
for our community, but it's good on a resume.
It's good on a resume.
Yeah, your research is winning
Yeah.
awards.
Yeah, I want a word.
So I definitely think it helps land a position for sure.
Sure.
But I also had family connections to Midland.
It's a melon. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to work for Reliance Energy, and I don't know, maybe some of our listeners know the owner of that company is Gary McKinney.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a local Midlander for a
Local
long
owner.
time.
Yeah.
Got his breakout in the oil field in Midland, running
Yeah.
work over rig company, and then started his own oil and gas company in the early 90s and made a big, huge sale with that in 2016 to not Permian. It's golly, I feel horrible. What is the name of the company? It's Concho.
Oh, Contra. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sold to Concho
Sure. In
for
26.
billion
Right.
some odd dollars. So
Yeah.
he's a billionaire.
I love those stories, man. These stories are
It's
so
awesome.
good.
He comes up from,
Yeah.
reasonable means.
Yeah.
I won't say he was, ever roughing it or had
Right.
a hard time. I don't know enough about his history to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, made something of himself from, work over rigs.
Work over
and,
rigs and
Yeah. Just slowly making it happen. And so, yeah, he definitely made the best of the American dream. And so he sold to Concho
Mm-hmm.
2016. Then he was just like, I had so much fun doing it. I want to do it
Do it
again.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like the
So,
double ego guys, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he picked up some of the guys from Clayton Williams after Clayton Williams sold a
Okay.
lot of their executive team and management. And he was just like, I've got these strong group of guys that know oil and gas.
And
And
were you still on there
I
after that?
wasn't yet. So
Oh,
this
okay.
was 17. He started
17.
that. And then I come on
Oh
in
yeah.
October of 18. And my uncle knows Gary through the roping world. He's a big
Mhm.
roper, team
Okay.
roper, and team roping is huge in this area,
Yeah.
West
Absolutely.
Texas.
Huh? Oh yeah.
So I had that connection, and he's just like, "Yeah, let's see Mitchell's resume, and let's have him come in and get an interview, and so we could get to
Sure.
know him." And so I just got the foot of the door. Definitely didn't. He didn't get me the job, any of
Right.
that
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
It
That
was
was yeah.
Gary was looking for some more people to come on and grow his team and kind of help him get this oil business started.
Mhm.
So
And Mitchell Gipson won the award at
yeah,
the
and
drill.
I've won
That
a technical. He seems technically inclined. He knows what he's
he
probably
won the
doing.
award. He got
Yeah,
$2,500. Okay,
yeah,
he's in.
yeah.
No,
He seems like a sharp
sure,
guy that
sure,
can maybe get us going.
sure.
But
Okay.
they were looking for a drilling engineer. And I was just like, my background's completions. I really know completions. And they're like, well, we'll see. We need to drill some wells. If you want to learn drilling, it's like, yes, I would love to learn drilling.
Drilling,
Yeah, I
right?
got into this industry because I fell in love with it just from a completion side. And I knew
Okay,
nothing
good
about
about that.
oil and gas.
Uh-huh.
I was just a frack hand
For
working out in the middle of nowhere in South Texas
yeah.
for
For
Halliburton.
Halliburton, yeah.
And
Yeah.
working with a bunch of field guys and kind of learning the lingo of oil and
Yeah.
gas, and just fell in love with it. And I was just like, I want to learn everything there is to possibly learn about this industry.
Sure.
And so it fit right under my goals was drilling engineer, learn more about the business.
Yeah.
This is pretty much the start of an oil and gas well,
Yeah.
drilling it. So I was just like, heck yeah. And then I was going to be tucked under the wing and learning from one of the best in the Permian Basin, John F. Kennedy.
John, yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
Come on.
God.
It's our president. So
Exactly.
he was the VP ops at Clayton Williams,
Uh-huh.
and he ran their drilling program.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he ran their drilling program and their drilling rig company that Clayton Williams had. So he was just like, yeah, I'll teach you everything you want to know.
That's cool.
I was all, awesome.
Yeah.
This
you
is
learned
this is
like,
the best
it's the
opportunity
street ever.
ever. So working for a small company, they have a project up in Levelland, Texas. And they're like, well, this was kind of left over from the Concho stuff that didn't get sold. It's some property I always kind of wanted to look up here and see what it's about. So I got to see kind of the early starts of like, well, let's go out and drill. Let's get a drilling rig, see what we can do. So Norton Drilling, they're
Yeah, right.
huge in West Texas, small company. They're started here. They know this area.
Okay.
This is where they operate. So working, they're like, well, John F. Kennedy said, go out to the drilling rig. I don't want to see you back here.
Right. Okay.
So I'm out on a
you're
drilling
there.
rig for 3 months. We're drilling 2 or 3 wells up there in Levelland. And so I get to know the drilling rig side of this stuff from a smaller rig, of course. It's not the big drilling rigs that, most of the horizontal work's being done out here, but got to see some pretty cool stuff with that. And they're like, all right, well, now we need to complete these wells. And I was just like, what? I know some tricks here.
Yeah, like
I know
this
some
is
tricks
your
here.
I know, yeah, right.
May I throw some suggestions?
Sure,
And
sure.
so, yeah, they're like, "Oh, Mitchell, he knows some completion
There you
stuff."
go.
So yeah, so how about you start designing our fracks?
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Always wanted to do this as a frack engineer on
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
So like always messing with, pump schedules, talking with the consultant, talking with the completion engineer, throwing out suggestions and ideas and stuff like that. Like I said, Halliburton trained the industry. We were at the cutting edge of the horizontal frack revolution in 2012 when I started, and Halliburton taught us everything that we know. And that was a wild time coming out of
Wild,
school.
yeah, right.
Because
Yeah.
mechanical engineering, I was just like, what am I going to do? I had no idea. Like, I want to say like 10 people I graduated with in mechanical engineering. We all went to the oil and gas business.
Oh,
It was
really?
boom time in oil
Yeah,
and
yeah,
gas.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and all the jobs were being offered as traditional mechanical engineering
Okay,
positions were like 40,
okay.
$50,000 a year. I was just
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
is
That's
horrible
that's
pay.
yeah, right.
This
You're like,
I'm an engineer. We need to
and
be
I and
getting
I just
paid.
and I just like yeah. So I mean, I don't know your past, but I was like, yeah. If you have a bunch of debt and you're like, man, I want to try to get it out of this college debt, and how you want to get paid for it,
Right. So I was
and
super fortunate that way. New Mexico has great opportunities for higher education. I
mhm.
got scholarships to go and pay for all of my schooling,
Oh,
in-state
good. That's
tuition.
awesome. Yeah,
So I didn't have many student loans, but
good, good.
I didn't come from a wealthy family either. So
Yes,
I had to pay for just my day-to-day
it
expenses.
is.
So, but
Good.
yeah, school was paid for me.
Oh, good.
But
Awesome.
yeah, in New Mexico. That was just my shout out to them.
Shout out to them for paying for your school.
Yeah, 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 quality education. But yeah, where were we?
I don't know. So now, by the way, let's go to now. I would we gotta go full circle with it. Is
Right.
that you're now the president of the AADE?
Yeah.
And so, tell us about what do we do as the president of AAD? Do you think that part of you was you're now the president of AAD because you won $2,500 in 2018 in your competition with AAD?
I think it may have
You
a
think it
factor.
may has
Yeah.
have messed with you there?
No, I don't think it messed with me. It may
Okay,
have influenced the people that helped me
influence,
get into
get
here,
in there.
though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2018, I come to Midland working for an operator, and the president of AAD at the time
Uh-huh.
uh, is in touch with my old advisor, and he was just like, my old advisor is like, Mitchell Gipson, he is working for an operator in Midland, and
Mhm.
he may want to help you guys on the board. I know you guys are looking for some folks to join your board that are on the operator side. And I was just and got in contact with Scott Williams, and he's another guy, been in this area for a long time. Most people know him. He worked for Apache for a long time and really good guy. And he kind of took me under his wing and said, come join us on the AADE board. We need a New Mexico Tech liaison. They're one of the
Mhm.
schools that we sponsor under AADE and give them scholarships. I was just like, awesome. I'd love to. I want to give back. And, I've been in the industry now. Well, it's been about 4 years if you count
Right.
my 3 years at Halliburton and then 2 years of master's degree doing research
Good.
and
Mhm.
still kind of involved with the industry. So I say like I had 5 years experience starting then.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, I want to give back and try and help promote our industry and get people interested in joining. And, we have bad repertoire in the commercial media. And how do I help do that? How do I help persuade the young generation to keep coming into our
Sure.
industry? And
Yeah.
what better way than try and give them scholarships and
Scholarship.
promote our
Yeah.
industry at the
Yeah.
higher education level? So it's like, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I get on the board. I'm the liaison for 2 years, and then they're like, well, we need a second VP. Mitchell, you've been a part of our board for a long
For
time.
time.
You've been doing great work on our committees and helping with events, and you're really involved. You're doing great at being a liaison in Mexico Tech. You're really helping keeping the kids involved. And I started a program where those kids come down and get to tour rigs and
Oh,
tour
that's cool.
tour
That's super neat.
yeah, tour some of the vendors' facilities and kind of get
Yeah.
their exposure to the industry that maybe they don't get to get,
Mhm.
being in New Mexico. Most people in New Mexico don't realize that there's huge oil and gas section to the state that really,
Really? Yeah. Oh, I mean,
I
well,
would say like Albuquerque
or
up.
Albuquerque. Yeah, that's good. Albuquerque.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe just Albuquerque and Santa Fe,
Yeah. Okay.
because there is a lot in Farmington.
Sure.
What it's kind of died off with just the way gas prices are.
Sorry.
But
Right. Yeah.
yeah, Albuquerque, where I grew up, and Santa Fe, most people don't
Uh-huh.
really know much about oil and gas. I had completely oblivious growing
That's
up.
crazy.
Had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
So any chance I get to talk to somebody about it in New Mexico, I'm always like,
That's
for
good.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm the liaison second VP, and then I get promoted to the president position after Dallas Daly goes to Qatar. He was an old Conoco drilling engineer, and they're like, Mitchell, we'd love to have you be our next president. So I was voted in
Okay.
by the board to be the president after he left, and at the time I was working, setting up and putting together the national technical conference that we were going to host in Midland, Texas here.
Okay.
And it was a huge thing. We're having this national conference that AADE hosts,
Mhm.
and it's a traveling conference that they've been moving all over the US over the last 12 years. And it's a biannual conference. And it was the Permian Basin's time to host it if we wanted it.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Yeah,
heck
heck yeah.
yes.
Right. Let's do it.
We're the capital of the oil
Yeah.
business. Come on.
Come on.
So, yeah. And I volunteered to help chair it. I was going to co chair it with another engineer on our board. He ended up dropping out and not being able to really participate and help set that up. So
Okay.
I kind of took it upon my shoulders. I
Okay.
was just like, I'm going to do it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. Yeah.
This is what needs to happen.
So
And I
how'd
had
it turn out? Yeah. How'd it turn out?
well, so I had a really, emotional kind of connection with
Really?
these
I mean,
conferences. I
yeah,
was
me
just
too.
like,
Yeah.
I want this to be the best possible conference that
Sure.
it can be, and hopefully inspire other kids to, once they get established in their careers, maybe they want to come back and give back and be a part of one of these conferences
Yeah.
themselves because they felt the reward and the gains of being a part of it. So
Yeah.
we tried to make sure that we really had student involvement. So all three of the schools that we sponsor, UTPB, Texas Tech, and New Mexico Tech,
Uh-huh.
we made sure that we blasted them and made sure get research papers in, submit them as abstracts. We want to highlight our students and award some scholarship money towards your
Yeah.
endeavors. So we had, I want to say like 15 participants for that scholarship, and we ended up awarding some. But conference was super successful, one of the most successful that the national boards ever put
Oh,
on.
great. Awesome.
Yeah, and then we were able to kind of split the proceeds between national and us at
Okay.
50-50. So
Yeah.
it was a huge gain for our local
Cool.
chapter.
Cool.
And one of the things that we like to do is we give out scholarships, of course, to our schools. This last year, we gave out 13 new scholarships. We ended up adding a
amazing.
higher tier to that. So we picked one student that we thought was
Was it Mitchell Gipson
there. You
that
go.
who can win who can win a friction reducing contest? Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Well, so we gave that out just as kind of a yearly thing that we're going to do
Yeah.
as a local chapter, is
Sure.
highlight our top applicant. And so then that quickly fed into a national scholarship that's given out yearly now.
Okay.
And we ended up submitting this highest tier award winner, Parker 2, who's a
Okay.
Texas Tech student,
Okay.
to nationals this year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And he won that one.
Oh,
So
he won it. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at our national F5 event, it's the Andy Ellis Award. He won that, and that's like another 2,500, maybe it's 3,000. I don't know. It's another really
Sure. Yeah.
awesome sum of
Awesome.
money.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So he was super thankful. We flew him and his wife out to go participate and accept that award and get to brush shoulders with more industry people. It's a awesome event. I haven't been, but I hear really good things about it. So
Right. Right.
yeah, it's been awesome being the president. I've just been trying to highlight giving back to the students, putting on technical event that helps, us with funds to be able to give to the students. We don't make any money at our association. It's just put on technical events, put on social events, and give back to the students as best we can.
Sure. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. So president of AADE and now senior production engineer at SM Energy. I've
Yeah.
only heard good things about SM Energy. So what are we doing now? What's the now?
Well,
Well, I mean, president of AAD, and then what else are we doing?
yeah. So I think it's just a perfect segue from Reliance to SM.
Mhm.
Reliance, we put together a successful project up in South Dawson
Okay.
County,
Yeah,
right below La Mesa. We put together 25,000 acres there and started drilling some horizontal wells in the Dean. There's an Ackerley Dean field up there.
sure.
Really prolific field that really was been producing since 70s, 80s. And
Yeah.
so, and it's still making oil to this day.
Oh, so that's a good field. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good field. Conventional. And kind of the Midland Basin thought once you get out of Martin County, oil the oil window is just not mature.
Sure.
And so we were like, well, we'll buy on the outskirts to see if we can make it happen. And so we got a project put together. I got to learn kind of the basics of even putting a project together. They had already had that acreage before at Reliance up in
Mm.
Levelland.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
this was completely
Right.
new to me. Like, oh, we're picking up a prospect. Oh, we're looking at the geology. Here's some test wells that they did. Here's
Mhm.
logs, looking at all this other stuff.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so it was really cool. Get to see all that to
Yeah.
drilling, then completing,
You
then
Yeah, going
producing
through
these
the whole
wells.
yeah, going through the whole process.
Yeah, and we brought on some of the most amazing Dean wells in the Midland Basin at the time.
Really? Yeah, that's
Yeah, so it's just like all eyeballs are on us up
Yeah.
there. Like, oh, these guys are putting together some Dean stuff up
Sure.
here that's looking really good, and some other prospective zones. And we start to put it to market. Gary's just like, I'm ready to get rid of this asset. I think it's time to offload, and we'll start looking for another one afterwards. But let's market it, see what we can get, put it on the market. SM's the one that's like the front runner for it.
Front runner, okay.
They pick it up in July of 23, and they're like, well, you got any engineers over there?
Yeah, you got any engineers?
Yeah.
So there, here you are.
Yeah.
There
So,
you are.
so I'm just like, I'd love to go work for SM
Yeah,
Energy.
Good.
I knew about them in South Texas. They've
Okay.
got South Texas
Oh,
assets.
do they? Yeah.
So while I was working for Halliburton in South Texas, I'd drive by their field office all the
Sure.
time and just be like, all we do work for them for Halliburton doing their completions up there. And it's just all we could ever say is good things about how SM operated. So
Yeah.
it was like, I'd love to get on for, work for SM. And we're like, well, we need a production engineer. I was like, well, kind of really good at drilling and completions.
Completion. Now you're
And they're like, well, you can start like next week if you're a production engineer. I was like,
I'm
here
gonna
we go. Here's another notch on my belt.
Here's
It's
another-
another goal. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about production. Let's get closer to the wellhead. Let's see how these production numbers work.
Yeah.
Let's see how facilities work. How do we make money as a oil and gas business? So heck yeah, let's get started.
Yeah.
So jump into the deep end again. Let's find our legs. And
So yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this because I enjoyed the engineer. I pumped for Parsley there for a little bit, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to the engineers because we would kind of like bounce these things off of each other. And I want to know now because now I'm removed from production for I don't know the last 7 years now,
Yeah.
and but at the time they were trying because the like the oil was so gaseous and they were trying to put Coriolis meters to try to get it very accurate. I mean, do you think that now your production like trying to and so I would talk to them a lot about I would go and get physical production out of the tank because man sometimes it was so hard because of how much gas was in the oil, and then if it was hot enough, right, you would lose like an inch or two out of your tank. So is that kind of thing still happening out there?
For sure.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, there's all kinds of different challenges with moving oil,
Yeah.
working oil
Working
on
oil.
surface. I deal mostly with the downhole stuff.
Okay, downhole.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm working on ESPs, rod pumps, gas lift.
Yeah, I love gas.
Gas lift is awesome, man. It's something I knew nothing about
Oh, you know
before
the
production.
focus. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, the production that I knew was just a little bit that I had while I was with Reliance, and we'd run some ESPs and that was it. So
Sure.
I knew just a couple of ESPs and how they worked.
Which one's
But-
your favorite? Which one's your favorite? ESP, gas lift?
I mean, you make the
Rod
most
pump?
money on ESPs, and
Do you?
it's yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it has to be your favorite, right?
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, you're moving the most fluid, making the most money. So
So
there's a lot of technology that goes into ESPs, and I think there's more gains to be had with ESPs.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the problems that you have with ESPs was like a huge amount of the repair bill. I mean, obviously you have to pull it up, and these ESPs are made out of very expensive materials, and so the repair bill's got to be very high compared to some of the others. But I would assume that like whenever I was there and seeing over time is that you started figuring that out now, and then as the years go by, that price is going to become less, and then the failures are going to become less
Right.
as you figure it out. Is that kind of
Yeah. So data is king.
Yeah, right. The data is king, right? Yeah.
And SM Energy has done a fantastic job. We pride ourselves as a technical company that
Okay.
leverages that technical capability and then implements it. So we collect all kinds of different data. We like to see real time data of all of our
Hmm.
ESPs.
Hmm.
Really good job of just realizing when knowing your operating window, right? Low flow, gas, these
Hmm.
are all horrible
Utilizations,
conditions for
right? Yeah, yeah.
ESPs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So knowing your limits, designing appropriately, and then yeah, just knowing how to troubleshoot them and hiring techs for those kind of specialty troubleshooting is
Yeah.
key.
Yeah,
So
sure. And then are y'all so real time data on the ESPs is and I only assume that I've already started seeing other companies do this, but starting to see real time data of all the production of it happening in real time with the ESP, and then getting those data points would be
having that
super.
correlated is also key.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to see your production with the parameters of your operating
It is.
ESP. So yeah, and everybody already knows it, but AI and machine learning are the next
Are the
steps.
next steps,
Yeah,
right?
they're going to
Like,
be the ones flagging, "Hey, we see this kind of a trend
uh-huh.
in your ESP. Maybe you should look at it."
Maybe you should look at it
Yeah.
because this is out of scope, out of
Well,
yeah, out of.
yeah, it's just not performing optimally.
Mhm.
And normally, an engineer like myself, I look over at 120, 130 wells. Maybe I have 60 or so ESPs, 50 ESPs, and it could take me all day to go through every single one of those, troubleshoot
Yeah,
it,
right,
look at
right.
what's going on,
Yeah,
having a machine learning or AI being like, hey, these three wells,
yeah,
spend your time looking at these. I suggest X, Y, and Z.
right.
Try that. And then I'll make another recommendation.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah. So I think AI isn't really going to take over the engineer's position, but
Uh-huh.
it'll be kind of like
Supplement
it'll be like the drill in the toolbox. You use the drill for almost every
every job.
job.
Uh-huh.
So, and it makes things more efficient. You're not using the screwdriver. You're not using, anything less efficient.
Right. So, let's talk about this. I'm getting crazy on the AI, right? So I think when you're writing the efficiency program though, and it's trying to help you, it's like that was someone's brain thinking to write that process. We got to
Right.
get Mitchell Gibson's brain into the AI, right?
Right.
Not someone else's.
That's why you have it learning,
If
right?
you're learning, yeah.
How does Mitchell like to run
How does
his
Mitchell? Yeah.
engineering workflow?
Yeah, that's tough, huh? That's tough to build.
I, who
Are they
knows,
they
man?
already
I,
have
I
that?
I I assume it's not far away if it's
That's
not there.
yeah.
I mean, ChatGPT probably already knows exactly what I do every day.
Yeah.
I think AI is just going to be the new efficiency driver and how companies start to leverage more gains.
Yeah.
And if you aren't working in the AI business, then you're falling behind.
What's in store for us for 2025?
Yeah, so I think 2025 is going to be a pretty interesting year. AADE is going to kick us off in
Okay.
2025
Okay.
with
AADE.
our most famous operator forum. It's our biggest event of the year. We have a panelists of
Okay.
a lot of the top operators coming in and giving their opinions. I'll be giving my opinion. This will be a little bit of an abbreviated one because I don't want
Okay.
to give it all away. But
Okay.
um, yeah, it's our biggest event of the year. Bunch of operators come to it. It's kind of our draw to bring in membership to sign up and
Sure.
check out the rest of our events. But 2025, I think it's going to be a big year. It's going to be a
Biggie.
huge year. We're getting
Okay.
Trump 2020
25.
25. Yeah, he's
But
got
I thought oil prices were going to be low under Trump, right?
yeah. So
Competition.
yeah, so I think traditionally when a Democrat is in office, the oil prices are higher, and when a Republican is in
Yeah.
office, they're a little bit lower.
Okay.
And it just depends on what environment you're good at working in. I think less regulation, less hatred towards our industry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just it's kind of nice to operate in those environments. You get to, politically kind of drive your goal forward.
Sure.
And while a Democrat's in office, you're defending yourself most of the
Yeah,
time.
right,
And,
right. Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, we're making money as a oil and gas business, but it's not ideal to kind of have everybody hating on you
Yeah.
and trying to work around the environmental constraints. But yeah, I think Trump coming into office it's just nice to kind of have not as much combative energy towards our
Yeah,
business.
right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I think 2025 is going to be a flat year. I don't think it's going to
Flat,
be,
okay.
yeah, flat to slightly declined. I think the last time around this time last year, rig count was down about 6% uh, for 2024 compared to last year. I think it's going to be pretty much identical. And most of those gains, I mean, we're producing more oil than we
We're
ever
producing more,
have
yeah, producing more oil, yeah.
as the
Less
United States coming out of the Permian, most oil.
You know why we're doing that? Is because you in 2018 made friction reducer for water, so now we can produce less water and fluid and make more production with less drilling rigs.
Yeah, we're
That's you, Mitchell.
reusing water. Yeah,
Yeah,
more and more, and it looks good for ESG.
sure.
It's cheaper for the oil and gas businesses to do it that way. It's a win-win.
So,
Our industry loves win-wins.
sure.
Anytime we can have a win-win,
Absolutely.
capitalize on it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so 2025, I think we're going to keep gaining. We're going to find efficiencies.
Find efficiencies.
Where
Keep
does
going.
where
Yeah,
where does it
I love that.
where does an industry thrive, or where does an engineer thrive
Mm-hmm.
with efficiencies? Yeah. So, and I think the key to that is going to be AI, like I was mentioning earlier. AI is going to be I think it's going to be the year of AI into our industry.
Sure. You know why I love this industry too is because it's like the only one I see in America still that when you drive down the road, people are still engineering things. Like it's not like a industry
It's the cutting
the
edge.
cutting. Yeah,
We're
everyone's just
discovering something new all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, like and you always have it's always had to stay efficient, and that's super fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know.
I think something was once told by an oil and gas engineer that was much wiser than me told me, we're better than NASA engineers. We're better than rocket engineers.
Yeah.
They can see their stuff up in space. We're going miles under the ground. We don't know what the heck is down there.
Yeah.
We see a camera. Maybe you get to see some borehole.
Yeah. You don't really know.
Yeah.
I always thought this. So my college, was in like geology, and I remember the first paragraph, and it said, "This is what we think it's happening out there, but we don't really like. We're not 100% that this is how it works underground." And
Right.
you're like, "That's good. That was like the first thing to let you know, like that this is the cutting edge. This is what we have, but it's not perfect, and we can't see it." So yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we live in the best place in the world, man. This is the cutting edge, the industry. Everybody out here is awesome. Midland is just, it's growing. It's been growing since I've been here 6 years.
Yeah, sure.
It's only going to keep growing. This is the capital of the oil and gas world. I don't want to be anywhere else. So
What's for you? So what's for Mitchell next year? Family, right?
Yeah.
Family,
Yeah.
career, AADE.
Yeah.
Anything new?
I'll definitely be involved with AADE probably my entire career. I have, like I said, an emotional connection with the society and association, and they've been good to me, and I just want to keep giving back the best that I can.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm a family man. I have a beautiful wife and 2 baby girls, and they're kind of my whole world. So anytime I'm not in the oil business, I'm at home taking care of them and celebrating life with them. And that's what it's all about, improving lives. None of this is possible without oil and gas.
Yeah.
And what does oil and gas do? It just enriches our lives.
Sure.
Makes things better. So the more of it we can produce, the better lives that we can live, and the more fun that we can have, and the new discoveries that we could make. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Awesome.
I couldn't be happier with where my career is going, and just want it to keep growing, and hope it keeps growing with SM. They're a great company, and yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, that was a great ending note. Thanks for coming on, Mitchell. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
And look, we'll continue to talk, man.
Awesome. Yeah. I want to do it again. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate it.
Take care.